Tonight, Bank of Ghana's 15.6 billion Ghana city loss splits parliament down the middle as the majority blames the past MPP government, with the minority taking the fight straight to the IMF.
My friends from the media, you know the economy we inherited, Ghanaians inherited from the MPP at the beginning of 2025. And these are the results. These are the diagnosed medicine.
We'll bring you details of this here and speak to various actors on this to find how Ghana can deal with this. Here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil. Enjoy Holy Sleep, and also by Short Pension Trust into the future with you. Tonight, blame game on BoG's loss as majority caucus in parliament is blaming the past NPP government for the 15.6 billion loss recorded on the balance sheet of the Bank of Ghana. The MPs say the 2025 loss reflects the deep economic distress left behind by the Kufuor administration. At a press briefing earlier, Chairman of Parliament's Committee on Economy and Development, Eric Afful, attributed the outcome of the central bank's loss to bad policy decisions under the previous government. Listen to him.
Their policy objectives. What matters most is the outcome of the policy. What is the outcome of the policy? We all know it. On this front, the evidence is clear in that inflation is down to single digits, exchange rate has stabilized and strengthened, reserves have increased significantly, interest rates are easing, credit conditions are improving, and economic growth is robust. Looking ahead, these costs are expected to moderate as open market operation expenses will decline as liquidity conditions normalize. Exchange rate volatility will reduce, and the effect of the DDEP will gradually unwind. Furthermore, government commitment to recapitalizing the bank under the appropriate legal framework will strengthen its balance sheet over the medium term. In view of this, in 2025 financial year results of the bank must be understood for what they truly represent, but not seen as a failure. But the cost of restoring stability, rebuilding confidence, and securing the future of Ghanaian economy. We therefore commend with the majority side. We therefore commend the Bank of Ghana and the governor for a decisive policy action during the period of extraordinary economic crisis.
Well, those are the words of the chairman of Parliament's Committee on Economy and Development, Eric Afful. Now, he further goes on to talk about how stellar the performance of the BoG has been over the period during the time of the economic crisis of 2025. Listen to him.
They are stabilizing institutions. Simply put, the bank's balance sheet reflects the cost of stabilizing the economy during a period of severe economic distress. You know the economy we inherited from the MP at the beginning of 2025. And these are the results. These are the diagnosed medicine for this economy, for this financial and price stability we are enjoying in this country.
So that's, the chairman of Parliament's Committee on Business and on Economy and Development. Let me now bring in much more, because we understand the former finance minister and ranking member on Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, has petitioned the International Monetary Fund over concerns arising from the central bank's audited 2025 financial statement, warning of what he describes as material implications for Ghana's macroeconomic stability and fiscal outlook. In a detailed letter to the IMF, Ghana Mission Chief under the Extended Credit Facility Program in Washington, D.C., Dr. Amin Adam stated that the fund must pay closer attention to safeguarding gains made under the program. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba joins me in studio with much more. Maxwell, what are the concerns being raised by the former finance minister?
Well, Brace, the former finance minister is raising at least 10 concerns to the IMF. He argues that the Bank of Ghana is heavily insolvent with negative equity worsening by about 35 billion Ghana cedis last year. He says losses are rising despite higher income driven by very high open market operation costs, which signal weak monetary policy and hidden fiscal pressure. He also claims the bank is relying on one-off gold sales rather than real improvement, with volatile and opaque gold transactions masking weak underlying performance. Now, large valuation losses and collapsing revaluation reserves, according to him, are further weakening the balance sheet. He warns the recapitalization will increase government debt and that central bank losses could eventually become public debt. He also flags quasi-fiscal activities and questions whether IMF program gains are sustainable after exit. Brace.
And what is he asking the IMF to do?
He's calling on the IMF to take a stronger role by requiring a clear and transparent recapitalization plan for the Bank of Ghana so there's a defined path to fix its balance sheet. He wants the IMF to treat central bank losses as a real fiscal risk in Ghana's debt assessment, not something separate from government finances. He's also pushing for a clearer measure of the bank's the true underlying position. In addition, he is calling for greater transparency in gold transactions and monetary operations so they are fully visible to Parliament and the public. He wants stronger safeguards to prevent indirect financing of government spending by the central bank, along with tighter oversight of accounting practices. Finally, he's asking for a post-program monitoring framework to track these risks and prevent them from building up again after the IMF program ends. Please.
I'm grateful to you there. Time now for us to bring in the Member of Parliament for Session Wiaso and also a member of the Business Committee of Parliament, Kofi Bente Afol. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. We also do have on the line Isaac Boamanyako, is MP for Efia and minority member on the Finance Committee of Parliament. Gentlemen, I'm grateful to you for joining. Let me start with you, Kofi Bente and Afol. Now, your side continue to see nothing wrong with the central bank's laws, and the minority is now bringing in the IMF to intervene because they see things that they perceive that if not corrected could hurt the economy. What do you say to that? Their call on the IMF to intervene now.
Good evening, Kojo, and good evening to all our listeners. And my brother Boama, my other committee member, who is also on the other side. And let us continue to set the record straight that what we, the majority in Parliament, did today was to continue to accept the good that the Bank of Ghana has done for the economy of Ghana. The mess that our government inherited, that through the ingenuity of the governor and the Minister for Finance, they have within 1 year been able to turn the corner to let our economy get back on heels as in the president's intention to reset the economy. In fact, if our friends on the other side, especially being led by a former finance minister, can go to the extent of writing or appealing to the International Monetary Fund to come and, to caution or direct Ghana to on how to keep the books of the central bank, then I would want to ask him, was he there when his government said they would not go to IMF, they would never venture, but later ended up on the advice of the minority and did so? Today, he is trying to tell us that the Bank of Ghana, with all what it has done, cannot keep its books until IMF comes in. Let me tell them that in 2022, when they said they would not take us to IMF and they did, today, with all what we have done and managed the economy, we are exiting IMF. We are not extending our stay with IMF as they did some time ago when they came to meet IMF. Today, the economy of Ghana, the performance of our central bank is on its toes. All indicators has been confirmed, and international rating agencies can all attest to it that Ghana is now well grounded in its finances. That is why our rating performances, among all of them, have gone up. What is the role of a central bank? What is the role of a central bank in an economy? A central bank cannot be compared to any other universal or commercial bank. The role of a central bank is to keep our economy going, to make sure prices are stable, our exchange rate is stable, our reserves are well enough to cater for our imports, interest rates are very well within the reach of the private sector. If we spend on our central bank, as we do, in fact, a central bank's objective is not to make revenue, profit, for that matter, for the state. A central bank cannot in any way be measured as a commercial bank because the business of central banking is clearly distinct from the business of commercial or universal banking. What we see today as a negative or adverse balance on the books of the central bank is what the central bank has used its resources to achieve for Ghana. And that is why today the inflation rate in Ghana is not 54% or 23%, but 3.2%. That is why today interest rates have fallen within the range of 10 and 15%. That is why today we have enough foreign reserves to cover our imports beyond 5 months. That is why today we have a lot of businesses getting into the banks to do business. So if anybody will say he is not okay with what the central bank has done, then it is obvious that for political reasons, such a person, including a leading member of the former government, a former minister for finance, is seeking the doom of the economy of Ghana. But they can compute to let us know, had it not been what the central bank has done, or if they were continuing in power, what would have been the situation of our economy?
Kofi, so I come in to ask that, is it the argument that we couldn't have achieved this without a loss?
Say again, Kojo.
Is it the argument that the BoG couldn't have achieved what they have without a loss?
The BoG has not made. You see, I still have an issue, even when we try to describe the position or the bottom line of the Bank of Ghana, the central bank, as a loss. That is why I see the operations and the nomenclature of a central bank is clearly distinct from that of a universal or commercial bank. So it is an activity that it is supposed to perform. That activity to be performed by the central bank cannot be done without incurring costs. How can the central bank mop up all the currency, the monies that were pumped into the economy before we came to power? How can they be mopped up without the open market operation, which comes at a cost of finance, which is the interest? How could the Bank of Ghana have given interest, dropped our interest rate if it has not tried to mop up excess liquidity from the system? And all these things come at a cost. That is the work of a central bank.
Kofi, I'm grateful to you. Do stay with me. Let me bring in Isaac Boama Nyako now. I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. Now, there you have it. That where the NDC took the economy from and where the economy is today is justified for the operational cost the bank has incurred. That's how they want us to put it. I mean, isn't that a good explanation enough that today the people of Ghana are enjoying lower rate, lower inflationary rate, and therefore that cost is a necessary evil to be borne by the BoG?
Thank you very much, my brother, and a very good evening to you and the cherished listeners. And to my brother Afo on the other side. If I'm listening to Honorable Afo, this is exactly where Ghana has been. And that is why we also continue to face perennial challenges anytime we go the tangent is going. This is not the first time inflation has dropped to single digits in this country. This is not the first time interest rates have fallen to the levels that we see today. But because of the way and manner the economies of this country is handled and the politicization and lack of understanding to appreciate warnings when it comes from the minority, That is why today he will speak like what he is saying. But come 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, if the fundamentals exposes them, then the language will change. What is the duty of a minority minority in parliament? The minority has a responsibility to scrutinize data and information that is brought to the fore and tell the government where we think the weaknesses and the challenges are. So that government, if it is only a listening government, a government that does not only make issues out of nothing, but a government that sees some positives in the issues raised by the minority and assures Ghanaians that based on your information and what we've also seen, at the end of it all, these are the measures we are putting in place to strengthen and to guarantee that this country doesn't fall back to the abyss or to the areas that we found ourselves. What has Honorable Amin Adam done? He has only brought this to the fore because from 2022-2023, when the LPP government entered into the IMF program, certain conditionalities were taken. And those conditionalities was what we embarked on, was what we followed through to the extent that even when the government had to be punished by an election, we still didn't compromise on the integrity of the processes that we have entered into. It is based upon it that this government, the NDC government, can pride itself of reducing inflation. If they had met inflation at 54%, as they always could. When they came into 2025 January, inflation had fallen to 23%. From 54%, what is the percentage drop from 54 to 23%? And so if you take it from 23% to 3.5% today, you are only continuing from a trajectory that the government, then the previous government, had embarked upon. The discipline that led to building reserves that this NDC government in 1 year, 2025, can boldly sell over 18 tons of gold. If we are not built the reserves of gold to 30 tons, could they have the means and the capacity to sell gold, 18 tons of gold, to cushion the economy that you see? The insolvency situation that the attention is being drawn to, is it denying the fact that this NDC government, having used gold board reserves and gold board sales, is a one-off issue that doesn't speak to the reality of the solvency of the central bank? Are we waiting for the central bank to go insolvent and collapse and then go back to another IMF request? Is that what they are telling us?
But I want to find out.
So that please, the issues are that very critical matters have been raised. We've raised the issue about the equity position of the central bank, which has to be addressed. We've raised issues about the open market cost, which is also on the high. You cannot have an open market cost which stood at around 50 billion, and then you ran it to 96 billion, and you said that we shouldn't question it.
No, but they are blaming where you left the economy for where we are today. And is your alternative going to the IMF to ask them to intervene?
You are in this country.
Mm-hmm.
They always talk about CD dollar ratio. When they came into this country, when they took over in January, the CD to dollar was $1 to 14 cedis. Are they disputing that position? As I speak to you today I went to the bank to go and change dollars. Exchange rate at the bank is 11.85. You took it at 14. Today it is 11.85. Go to the black market.
But there's a reduction, not so.
Exchange rate of the dollar.
But there is a reduction.
Significant. What extraordinary change have we seen? How has it even impacted in the lives of the ordinary Ghanaian? So every government has a responsibility to hold this country in stable form. And they came to meet a country that was in a progressive way of growth. What was the growth percentage when they took this country? Was the country in negative growth? They took the country at a growth rate of over 5.7%. And in their first year, in 2025, what was the growth position?
Okay, all right.
So this narrative, please, this narrative of trying to create impression as if they took the economy in a very bad state and the economy was on its knees and then the inflation was 54%. When they took over this country, was inflation 54, 23%.
Okay, do stay with me. I'll bring you back in. But let me go to Ben Taffel again. Now, does your presser today, which of course is putting everything back on their government, does it deal with their call for the IMF to intervene?
And Kojo, that is where I say it is a wrongful call, in that what they are trying to do after we have cleaned their mess is that they would wish we had managed the economy, and for that matter, specifically, Bank of Ghana should have operated the way they did for us to have still been having all those adverse and bad indicators. He is trying to tell doom to the people of Ghana, Dr. Amin said that the country is nearing what? Insolvency. Do you know?
But if it won't result in a loss of 15 billion, wouldn't that be a good call?
Cannot be insolvent because it has a balance on its sheet. No, Bank of Ghana, let everybody listening to us, let the accountants come in and tell us the distinction with the kind of distinction we do financially and accounting between commercial banks that can fail because their assets are below their liabilities, that is insolvency. It can never happen in the case of central bank anywhere. That is out of the records and the operations of central bank. That cannot be. Central bank are distinct. So let them come clear, understand the banking principles, to know how commercial banks operate, and not try to use the commercial bank operations yardstick or measurement criteria to judge a central bank.
So are you saying their call to the IMF is a misplaced one?
The bank of all...
Hello, Kofi Bente, are you saying their call to the IMF is a misplaced one?
Yes, very well misplaced, because if you look at all the issues they are tabling, especially with this issue of insolvency, my brother and his former finance minister, it tells me that probably they do not know the distinction between the operation of a commercial bank and that of a central bank. So let them come home, wherever he is. Let him come home. Let Dr. Amin Andab come home, and let us all sit and analyze what the Bank of Ghana has done against the issues he is carrying to IMF, and we tell him that what the Bank of Ghana is today, the position a Bank of Ghana is in today, does not merit him saying all these things about our central bank.
I'm grateful to you. Let me give the final one to Isaac Boama Yako.
In good times.
Benton, I'm grateful to you. Let me bring in Isaac Boama Yako here. Yeah.
So we just expect a listening government. This country belongs to all of us. Nobody should create the impression that the MPP and the minority wishes this government bad or evil or wrong. We all live in this economy. The NDC has ruled us before. They took us to doomsday for over 3 years. MPP came and gave us light. Today they have taken us back to doomsday, and we are helping them to fix it with our knowledge. So nobody is saying that this country should go to a mess. But the reality, early warning signals are critical. We are only being an honest and a very, very responsible minority who sees challenges and draws government attention to it. And government only has to be a listening one, so that even if we erred in time past, or even if we made mistakes in time past, today we are in a better position to also advise, so that they don't take us back, and then we also have to come and reinvent the wheel again.
Okay.
But you are crying wolf. You are crying wolf when there's no wolf.
And that of the governor and the minister of finance is that the issues we've raised, they should take their time and read it. They should take their time and read it.
Okay.
They should know that we mean well for this country. They should know that what we are saying sits at the core of the central bank's operations. How can you have a gold board program, gold purchase program, and all of it is shredded in secrecy? Why are we not being transparent with the operations of the board?
Okay.
These are matters that are critical, because if you are not careful, a day is coming the variations and the losses that are being attributable to the central bank, all of us will come home to roost.
Okay.
And so please, let us learn from the past. The minority, including the MPP that we serve, we are very responsible. We have a responsibility to draw government's attention when things are not going right.
I'm grateful to you, Isaac Boama Nyako, is MP for FIA and minority member on the Finance Committee of Parliament. Kofi Bente Afol is MP for Sefi. We also are a member of the Parliament's Business Committee. That's how we wrap up the top story for you. Up next is Newsnight right after these.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter, Angela.
Meba Kojo, Yami sure why? Tea cash naba. No papa ina dawasi.
Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop.
Hello, sir. Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones.
We keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining in my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me da with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Did you know that Ghana's Children's Act, Section 91, clearly says,
no person shall engage a child in exploitative labor.
That means children must not be made to do work that deprives them of their education, health, or development.
Hazardous work?
That is not allowed. Working in stone quarries, carrying heavy loads as kayaye, hawking on busy streets in the scorching sun, being used as domestic servants in homes, or diving into dangerous waters to untangle nets, rowing canoes for hours under the hot sun, and working all day without food or rest.
Yet, too many of our children are trafficked from towns and villages across Ghana to the shores of the Volta Lake, trapped in fishing boats, robbed of their childhood, and exposed to danger every single day.
Human trafficking means the recruitment, transportation, harboring, or trading of persons within and across national borders for purposes of exploitative labor.
I want to go to school, but now I only work.
This is child trafficking.
It is a crime.
It is against the law, and it must stop now.
Parents, guardians, community leaders, protect our children.
Report suspicious movement of children and do not give your child away to strangers promising jobs.
Together, let's end child trafficking now.
This message is brought to you by the International Justice Mission with support from the National Commission for Civic Education.
Midinchia Efri Absa Mamo Anope. Welcome aboard flight 38310. Our dear Mauritius, straight. Somewhere you're ready.
Tap your ABSA card or transact digitally with 350 Ghana cedis today for your chance to win a trip for two to Mauritius. Or be one of 9 lucky winners enjoying a weekend island escape right here in Ghana. This promotion runs until 31st July 2026 and is regulated by the National Lottery Authority on the Caritas Lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply. Your story matters. ABSA.
This May, all eyes turn to Ghana's biggest music celebration, the 27th Telecel Ghana Music Awards. The biggest hits, the loudest cheers, the hottest fashion. Performing live, Wendy Shea, Black Sharif, R2Bs, Last Maid, Kofi Kenata, Diana Hamilton, PSA Esther, Medical, Samini, Fido, and many more all on one stage. Saturday, 9th May, Grand Arena inside Accra International Conference Center. 7 p.m. sharp. Limited tickets available for 700 Ghana cedis and 1,000 cedis at Charterhouse. Or dial star 713 star 33 star 00 hash. For more information, call 0501 288520. The 27th Telecel Ghana Music Awards, produced by Charterhouse, refreshed by Guinness, with support from TV3, British Council, Close Up, KPMG, Joy FM, and proudly brought to you by Telecel.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to News Night. Yoko rearrests former chief executive officer of the National Food Buffer Stock Company and his wife hours after the Attorney General dropped all charges against them in an ongoing criminal case. We have details as the Deputy Attorney General cites the discovery of fresh evidence. Also tonight, Kolebu Hospital, the people diagnosing you and the people treating you do not trust each other because doctors and lab scientists are in a bitter clash over test results and patients are caught in the middle.
Even if you don't realize that and then you write a prescription based on the wrong lab report, it's going to affect the patient.
The assertion by KODA that over half of laboratory requests are directed to private laboratories is not due to deteriorating lab results, but rather due to personal benefits.
We speak to the board chair of Kolebu Teaching Hospital. More road contracts under the Big Push agenda incur the wrath of Roads Minister over stalled projects and failure to mobilize, with the latest defaulters handed a 14-day ultimatum to deliver or risk contract termination. We have details as government lashes out at some foreign companies as well. And coming up in business,
well, MTN proposes 6 pesos per share as dividend for the first quarter of this year. Some are describing this as the first time in a long while.
In sports,
Black Stars midfielder Daniel Kofi targets 2026 FIFA World Cup return.
And a bit later, BEC candidates in Nkwanta in the OT region write exams under fear as fresh killing in the town leaves the students and residents shaken despite assurances from WAEC that security is tight.
As for the conflict, let me see, in one way or the other, it has affected us.
The conflict has affected us so much, but with our teachers together with us, we were able to write something in the exam.
The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. You can be a part of this show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi, details now. And tonight, former Chief Executive Officer of the National Food Buffer Stock Company, Hanan Abdul Wahab, and his wife walked out of court free this morning. Hours later, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, YOCO, rearrested them. The Attorney General's office withdrew all charges against the former NAFCO CEO and his wife, citing fresh evidence. A legal affairs correspondent, Fatal Bayaga, is joining me in studio with more. Fatal, first, tell us about the charges against the former National Food Buffer Stock Company boss and his wife.
So the two were on trial together with other individuals over alleged involvement in the purchase and supply of food items under the National School Feeding Program, in a case said to have resulted in the loss of 78 million Ghana cedis to the state. The accused persons, former NAFCO CEO Abdul Wahab Hanan, his wife Faiza Winnie, and 3 others were facing 24 charges in relation to this particular case. Ken.
And what do we know about the happenings today?
So, Ken, the Deputy Attorney General, Asram Sai, earlier in the day posted on his Facebook page, which I quote, following the discovery of fresh evidence, we have a while ago withdrawn from the prosecution of all the accused persons in the case of the Republic versus Hanan Abdul Wahab and 4 others. This is to afford each of the accused persons a fair and a more speedy trial in accordance with the Constitution. The court court then struck out the charges against the accused persons, leading to their discharge. But Ken, surprisingly, Yoko officials rearrested all the accused persons, including Hanan Abdul Wahab and his wife Faiza Saiduwini, shortly after their release. The details for the rearrest have not been made public yet. The case has been characterized by extended legal arguments, including disagreement over witness statements and the structure of the prosecution team. At the previous adjourned hearing, Ken, the prosecution attempted to replace its newly filed witness statements with, earlier versions, while the defense counsel objected to the involvement of an Yoko officer in the prosecution. Ken.
Fatal Bayaga, thank you very much. Godfrey Dame is a former Attorney General and also lawyer for the former NAFCO boss. He's joining me on the telephone lines for more on this. Mr. Dame, welcome to the program. Your client has been rearrested hours after they were freed. What do you make of that?
Oh, thank you very much. Good evening to your listeners. I think the development is quite strange and awkward. And what is even more awkward is the fact that he's still being detained at Yoko. And it's awkward because it's a matter that the Attorney General himself held a press conference and spoke about the nation in a very dramatic fashion, labeling it as Rambo in the jungle and what have you. And he bastardized my client. He tore his reputation to shreds, abuse of office and what have you, stolen money, and all manner of wild allegations. And he paraded them before court. Almost a year down the line, the Attorney General comes to discontinue the prosecution and propose to commence, I don't know whether it's fresh investigations or whatever he wants to do. And it's quite serious because when an Attorney General decides to embark on such a novel step, which is holding a press conference to not only announce charges, but to essentially castigate innocent citizens of the Republic as having committed a crime, is one that ought to be taken very, very seriously. And characterizing it as well, Rambo in the jungle and all that. And indeed, the trial essentially has started. Witness statements which represent the evidence in chief of the prosecution had been filed of 5 witnesses. We've gone through 5 months of witness statements of case management conference, which is considering the evidence that will be adduced by the prosecution. And as your reporter indicated, last week we raised objection to the attempted smuggling into the record of new witness statements that the prosecution had attempted to file. And I find all these practices very much untoward and totally alien to our criminal jurisprudence, our criminal practice. And today, this morning, in quite a dramatic fashion, he purported to withdraw all the charges against all accused persons. And the point I ask is that no problem. The prerogative to prosecute is that of the Republic. But that prerogative must be exercised in accordance with law and reasonably in accordance with due process. These are accused persons who are on bail, have been on bail for the past 1 year. They have never interfered with investigations. And indeed, before even being arraigned before court, they were on very onerous bail terms. Their passports have been taken from them. Their assets have been frozen. They are even fighting the charges against them, essentially on an empty stomach. Because the court, even without regard to the provisions in the Yoko Act, which is to ensure that there is a preservation of a reasonable amount of money for the running of their business and their personal lives, froze all their assets. So you find the Republic engaging in gross abuse of procedural discretion. Be that as it may, they have been going to court, representing them without any opportunity to even pay counsel and what have you. And then today, they discontinue after having castigated them and assassinated their reputation.
Mr. Dame, what do you suggest to be the new evidence the Attorney General claims to have discovered?
Keeping them in the custody of Yoko. When their passports have been taken away, all their assets have been frozen, and they have no means at all of interfering with investigations. I find the conduct of Yoko also very, very reprehensible. You have a mother, together with her husband, being kept in the custody of Yoko, when you have destroyed their reputation the past 1 year of having stolen money, when you have no evidence at all. You attempted to smuggle evidence into the record by filing witness statements without leave of the court. And when objection was taken by me, the court struck them out. And the next time, your next move is to withdraw the charges and then arrest them. And so you have this practice by the Republic, which ought to be condemned by all. They engage in pre-trial harassment of persons. And I think that's the only means of sustaining their so-called oral allegations. The oral allegations are built on false propaganda by going to a press and making noise, tearing people's reputation to shreds, and after that they cannot sustain a charge. I think it's very, very much reprehensible and it must be condemned in no reasonable terms. And I do not understand why the president, with all respect, is looking on while the Attenjura and the Yoko do this.
Mr. Dami, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. On what grounds was your client rearrested shortly after being discharged by the court? Are you aware?
No known grounds. Arrested indeed. And the important point that ought to be made, they have been denied access to counsel. I have junior colleagues of mine who have been sitting at Yoko since about 11 o'clock. They have not been given access to them. They have not been given access to the former chief executive of Afasok. I mean, what kind of practice is that? They have been sitting at Yoko since 11 o'clock. They have not had access to their clients. They are junior colleagues of mine, and they are still sitting there. Apparently, Hanan even fell ill in the course of all the harassment and was rushed to the hospital and brought back to Yoko office. He's still in the custody of Yoko at the Yoko office. He's not been given access to his lawyers.
So what's the next line of action? What do you do from here?
Yeah, so trying to negotiate is being freed from the custody of Yoko and resort to processes that are known to the law. But I'm saying that this unhealthy practice of pre-trial harassment, if the Republic has a genuine case against a person, they ought to abide by the due process, arraign the persons before court with regard to all rights that are known to the Constitution of Ghana, and let the case proceed. But you cannot violate their rights, destroy their reputation by no less a person with all respect than the Attenjura, and then after 1 year down the line you discontinue. And when you discontinue, you deny them access to counsel, you banded them off and put them in custody. Is this a democracy? This is totally untoward.
Were you formally informed of the fresh evidence cited by the Deputy Attorney General, and what does it say?
There's absolutely no fresh evidence. Indeed, that, even with all respect, speaks to the competence of the prosecution that is. Is this not the same attorney that indicated at the press conference that was a ramble in the jungle? And indeed, all the statements he made at that press conference were actually contained in the charge sheet filed by the prosecution. Remarkably, all the comments made by the Attenjura formed the basis for the charge. They were essentially a verbatim reproduction of the charge sheet. So there was fresh evidence. That evidence was not known to them, and they commended the prosecution. They understood the prosecution when they did not have evidence. Is that the way to conduct prosecution? When prosecution of various NDC appointees was embarked upon the past 8 years, there was full observance of the right to bail. Bail was given to them. Even the treason trial, the most heinous offense in the Republic of Ghana, treason trial, bail was given to them on the very first day. I appeared in court myself.
Right.
So I'm not really speaking on the basis of hearsay. That's the record of the court.
Right.
I think that we must condemn this. I mean, we cannot prosecute on the basis of propaganda.
Okay.
And propaganda ought to be kept out of legal processes.
Right. Godfrey Dami, thank you very much. He's a former Attorney General and also the lawyer for the former NAFCO boss who has been rearrested hours after he was released earlier today. And Martin Kpegbu is a lawyer. He's joining us on the telephone lines on this particular conversation. Mr. Kpegbu, welcome to the show. What do you make of the Attorney General's decision to withdraw all charges against the former NAFCO boss and other accused persons after years of prosecution?
Oh, it certainly means, that he has more evidence. So you're going to see the figures go up. That is to say, Hanan and his wife, Bonnie and Clyde, would have taken state funds more than what we know now. Because once you see the state withdrawing and now that they are in custody, it tells you that the new case is going to be worse than what we know. I mean, you look at each person's track record and you can make inferences, right? Because Dr. Ayene is not like Godfrey Dami, who added ACP Agojo to the treason trial when there was no evidence against him. So when I heard Godfrey Dami complain, I was like, wow, this is rich. Godfrey Dami told me that, look, he just added ACP Dr. Agojo to the treason trial to make it weighty. Like, if you say in chief, if you add ACP, Dr. Agojo, he's part of the treason trial, then it makes it bigger. That's the same thing they did about Kenneth Gamele. You see, they were acquitted and discharged. So, if you look at Godfrey Dame's track record, what he has done in that office, as against Ayene, who has no blemish so far in that office, I'll go with Ayene. Look, Godfrey Dame just deceived the whole public by saying that the accused persons in the treason trial got bail on the first day. That's false. I was lawyer for Dr. Agojo. That is the second time they rearrest, coincidentally. What Yoko and AG have done to Hanan, that's the same thing that was done to Macpam, Dr. Agojo, and Kenneth Gamele. So the first time, Agojo was in custody for at least 1 month. It's more than. He was in custody. AG opposed bail. It was finally Justice Ekobedin who rose to the occasion and granted bail against all odds. So tell Godfrey Dame, I hope he's listening. Agojo was in custody for at least a month. So it was after he got bail. Then day two, when we went on as a trial, we selected a jury, etc. Then they saw that their case was weak. It was clear to us from where I sit. Our suspicion was that looking at the jury, they knew that they would lose. So not long after, they discontinued the case, rearrested Agojo & Co. on a hot Friday afternoon. Then that's the one, this thing he's saying they got bail on the first day. It's also false. Let me tell you, I had to apply to Chief Justice Eni Yebua. Went and sat down there and thank God Chief Justice Eni Yebua gave us a court on 7th, I think it was a Saturday or so, because of table number 2, because they were holding them they were going to hold them for more than 48 hours by the next court date, either Monday or so. So it's because of the 48-hour rule, we went to court. It was a Saturday or so because of table number 4, and then the court granted bail. So true, it was on that occasion that Godfrey Dame told the court, yes, he was not opposed to bail.
Mr. Kpegbu, I want you to hold on for me because we have the former Attorney General back on the line. He says he wants to respond to some of the claims you've been making. Godfrey Dame, welcome back to the show. Briefly, you say you have some concerns with the issues Martin Kpegbu has been raising.
Yes, because Martin Kpegbu is continuing the usual tradition of spewing false propaganda and untruth. It is definitely untrue that I said to him that ATP Agbojo was added to the list of accused persons to make out. What does he mean by that? I find that very scandalous. ATP Agbojo is actually a person in respect of whom the court found that he had a case to answer upon the close of the prosecution's case. And these false allegations that he makes all the time, I must call him to order. And I'm saying that if he's not able to justify it, I'll issue a writ of defamation against him. Because he's fond of spewing false propaganda and lies about me. Now, second point is that it is definitely untrue, as he alleges, that the accused persons in the treason trial were not granted bail on the first day. The record is there. It is for no reason that the court keeps record. It is for matters like this, on days that people like Martin Kpegbu, characters like him, will be spewing lies and untruth on radio. The record of the court, there has been only one treason trial. There were never 2 attempts to try them for treason. The treason matter was filed only once, and the bail application was considered on only one day. It was a Saturday. They were granted bail on the first day. He's confusing it with an earlier charge for treason felony. Treason felony is different from treason, and you should know the difference. And that treason felony charge was actually commenced under Madame Gorekufu's authority as the Attorney General. In my time as Attorney General, the charges that were leveled against them were that of treason, charges of treason against each of the 9 or 10 accused persons, and they were all granted bail on the first day. So he must get it right and stop spewing falsehood and throwing that into the eyes of the public.
Godfrey Dame, thank you once again. And Martin Kpegbu, I don't want us to dwell more on this back and forth, but you have about 20 seconds to respond to that, and then we deal with the substantive issue why we called you.
Very good. Look, Godfrey Dame is lying. Look, I can tell you, he was the lawyer in the treason felony case, and it's the same facts. They stopped the treason felony, which would have led to the same result, death sentence, and then restarted the high treason case. Godfrey Dami was lawyer in there. Gloria Kufu never came to court. Godfrey Dami was the one in the court. When he saw the jurors, how they were selected, everything, then he lost confidence in his own case and stopped it and restarted a new one. So who is lying? The same facts. Agbojenko did not go to start any new thing. The same case, the same facts that he cancelled. So you can do treason felony or you do the high treason. And that's how come they did. And then stop the trial after Agbojenko had been in for months. And then did the second one. And that's when he then said there would be bail. And secondly, this is not the first time I've confronted Godfrey Dami that he told me that he just added Agbojo. I've been saying this for over 2 years now. I'm surprised it's today that he thinks he can go to court. Okay, I'm willing to meet him.
Martin, let's continue with the substantive issue. What do you think the Attorney General means when he said that there's a discovery of fresh evidence, and how does it affect the case?
Oh, so yes, what happens under our law is that for as long as the judge has not yet, given judgment, and you remember the famous or infamous Gregory Afuku case, where once again Godfrey Dami was there as a Deputy Attorney General, the state finished its case. In actual fact, everything was done. The judge was about to give judgment. Then they saw that they would lose. And then they did a nolle prosequi. Everything was done, Godfrey. They were just, the judge, it was left with, I think it was adjourned for the judge to give judgment. Then they went and stopped the whole trial. It went to the Supreme Court. Then the Supreme Court said, look, as long as judgment has not been given, the state can enter a nolle prosequi, right? That's, in other words, stop the whole trial and start afresh. It's not a satisfactory situation. There are other countries where you are given, the law mandates that you give reasons. And so far, we all look like, as we are becoming more refined as a society, we should move towards it. That when you enter a nolle prosequi, you should give reasons. And you see how Ayene has done that commendably well. You see the cases he entered nolle prosequi, he gave reasons. So this one, based once again on his track record, I would reserve judgment. I know Ayene will give us the reasons. Even if it doesn't specifically come to a press conference, from the new charges, when we do comparisons, we will see the obvious reasons.
Martin Kpegbu is a lawyer there. Thank you very much. And earlier we heard from Godfrey Dami, who's a former Attorney General and also the lawyer for the former NAFCO boss. You're still listening to Newsline here on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra and numerous affiliates across the country. Now, let's bring you more stories tonight. I want to ask you, what if your blood test is wrong? At Korle Bu, doctors say that's exactly the risk right now. The Korle Bu Doctors Association walked off the job yesterday over what they call unsafe lab results. They returned only after a doctor was named head of lab services, but lab scientists say the doctors are lying to drive patients to private clinics. They say the allegations are self-serving and damage public trust. Chairman of the Korle Bu Doctors Association, Dr. Asare Ofe, has been speaking to Joy News.
It has, over the years, affected the lab reports that we receive. And our solution have always been to ask the patients whose lab reports we think are not correct per their condition to go and repeat them in other private labs. But for how long can you ask patients to spend a second time? And even if you don't realize that and then you write a prescription based on the wrong lab reports, you're going to affect the patient. So safety of the patient is also at stake. And so this issue has been dealt with several committees over the past 10 years. And the conclusions are clear. Let the lab doctors go back to the lab and validate the specialized labs before they are released to patients and doctors to use.
That's Dr. Asare Ofe there. He's the chairman of the Korle Bu Doctors Association, but Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union is pushing back hard. Its General Secretary, Dr. Abdul Hakam Abubakar, has dismissed the allegations as self-serving, accusing KODA of pursuing ulterior motives, including diverting patients to private facilities for laboratory tests.
The assertion by Dr. Asare Ofe, chairman of Korle Bu Doctors Association, that majority of laboratory results are compromised and unreliable is false and disparaging and must be treated with all the disdain it deserves. The assertion by Koda that over half of laboratory requests are directed to private laboratories is not due to deteriorating lab results, but rather due to personal benefits they gain from private laboratories in the name of tips, commissions, and discounts. We therefore demand the retraction and unqualified apology from Dr. Asari Ofe and the Kolebu Doctors Association for the defamatory statements made against the laboratory sub-BMC, failure of which will call for a reaction from leadership. Any attempts by a professional body to subvert the smooth running of the services of the Central Laboratory Sub-BMC will be fiercely resisted through lawful and professional standards.
That's Dr. Abdul Hakam Abubakar. He's the General Secretary of the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union. After doctors suspended their strike, the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union has issued a statement threatening industrial action. My colleague Collins Frimpong is joining me in the studio with details from that statement. Collins, what is the union saying?
So, pursuant to the Labour Act 2003 at 651, the Laboratory Professional Workers Union has served a notice of embarking a nationwide industrial action scheduled to begin on May 12 over what it describes as the unlawful removal of the head of the laboratory services. The union accused management of the hospital of breaching agreements reached at a stakeholder meeting convened by the Ministry of Health on February 3, 2026. According to the union, the appointment of the medical laboratory scientist as head of the department was part of the resolutions that led the union to suspend an earlier planned industrial action in good faith. However, the union alleges that the chief executive officer, the director of medical affairs, and the director of human resources at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital acted in bad faith by reversing the decision and reassigning the appointed head to accommodate demands from the doctors by imposing a physician to the head of the department.
Thank you, Collins Frimpong. Dr. Kwame Saponisedu is a CDD research fellow in public health. He's joining me via Zoom. For more on this, Dr. Sedu, always great to have you on any of our shows. Being in public health, how concerned are you for the happenings at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, first of all? Hello,
where healthcare has moved. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, I said where healthcare is moving, diagnostics are part and parcel of everyday management of patients. So if there's a misunderstanding that is going to impact on the diagnostics, people should be concerned because it can mean simple things not being diagnosed properly. But then the question I ask myself is, haven't we been here before? We have been here before, and I took this position back then by saying that it is not entirely correct if you say that a laboratory should be headed by a laboratory scientist, because there are doctors who specialize in certain aspects of laboratory science. There are even biomedical scientists who may not be doctors or laboratory scientists, like pharmacists can do biomedical science and specialize as well. So I think the conversation should move to the competence of the person managing the facility, first and foremost, and whether they have the right qualifications to be in that job. I think that is where we should be having a conversation towards. But to play a tough war and try and think that, oh, I'm a laboratory scientist, so I should manage, or I'm a doctor, I should manage, it's neither here nor there. It serves no purpose, if you ask me.
Right. And what should be done to address the concern of quality diagnosis at Kolebu, which is at the center of this whole strike?
Well, quality diagnosis is important because if the diagnostics are wrong, it can lead to an overall misdiagnosis and mismanagement of the patient. Now, there are two schools of thoughts here. From what I gather and what was read by your colleague, there's the perception from the doctors that the laboratories are being mismanaged and therefore the diagnostic outcomes are poor. And then there's the perception from the laboratory scientists that no, that's not the case, but the doctors are referring outward to private labs because of financial benefit. At the end of the day, there are standards that have to be followed in the country. All these labs are regulated. So in my view, it takes HEFRA to come in. We've got Standards Authority. And then they come in and they run standard tests and ascertain whether the results coming out of those labs are up to standard or are not up to standard. At this point, I cannot take the side of the laboratory scientists or the doctors because I do not have independent corroborative evidence to say that this one is right or this one is wrong. But there are frameworks in the country to do that. That's why we have HEFRA. They regulate the hospitals. That is why we have Standards Authority. We have other reference labs in the country. So they just need to go in there, test, and let's know what the outcomes are. Which of the two parties is actually putting the full picture out? And then let's move on from this. I mean, I don't see, the whole complication in this situation, if you ask me.
Right. Dr. Kwame Sapon-Esedu, thank you very much. He's a CDD fellow in public health, and we were billed to speak to the board chairman of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Professor Titus Bayou, but he is currently engaged in a meeting. Let's bring you business. George Wiafe is here with the latest. George, what's up in business?
Well, Ken, I don't know whether you hold MTN shares because they are proposing an interim dividend, which is the first time in a long while, about 6 pesos per share for shareholders of the telecoms giant. And I'll be getting you more details on that one. And also, Talu Oil expects ruling on 2 separate tax disputes with Ghana by the International Tribunal by September this year. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, Synthesis tanks, and Pepsodent, Herbal, and Charcoal.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
According to MTN Ghana, the proposed dividend payment is...
I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Tema near Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Center Point Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number one. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
Showdown, sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Mothers give us everything: love, strength, and life itself. And it's time to give back. Joy FM presents the Joy FM Crown Forest Experience. Join us on Saturday, May 9th, for a day bursting with thrills. We'll have your day packed with irresistible activities like paddle boating on calm waters, an adrenaline rush with horseback riding, quad biking, exciting safari tour, friendly competitions such as dance contests, and wrap the prize, a chance to meet the mysterious Ujafokwa crocodile revered as the protector. And to top it all off, a delicious feast of local dishes and drinks, accompanied by the sensational sounds of the Ajinkor Band. Come, let's crown our mothers with joy and adventure at the Crown Forest. For inquiries, call Lois on 059 1709 309. The Joy FM Crown Forest Experience is proudly brought to you by the Crown Forest, where nature meets luxury.
Wonderful woman. Every mosquito study run away.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, telecoms giant MTN is proposing 6 pesos per share as dividend on its first quarter financial performance. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
According to MTN Ghana, the proposed dividend payment is part of measures by the board to return some value to shareholders every quarter based on its performance. It is therefore proposing some changes to its dividend policy going forward. However, MTN says this will be subjected to cash availability, retained earnings, and compliance with debt covenants. The telecoms giant is looking at paying up to 80% of its profits that will be declared in each quarter. MTN Ghana ended the first quarter of this year with profit before tax going up by more than 48% to reach 3.5 billion cedis. The report also showed that revenue reached 7.2 billion cedis in the first 3 months of this year. Taxes paid to the state from January to March reached 1 billion cedis, representing more than 50% spike. Mobile money revenue also reached 1.7 billion cedis.
And that was a Business Desk report. Now, finance lecturer Dr. Benjamin Amoah has described Bank of Ghana's recent dollar intervention as critical in dealing with the current pressure on the Ghana cedi. The central bank last week increased the amount of dollars it sells to the market every week by some significant margin to more than $400 million. Dr. Amoah tells J Business it is very important the regulator moves early to help manage the city's fortunes.
BoG will always pick the numbers and the signals from the market. And because BoG is aiming at providing a predictable CD rate against the dollar, which they have been successful at doing so far for the past 1 year. From the signals and the numbers coming from the commercial banks, BoG will then release to the market what from its consideration is an optimal amount of dollar to meet the needs of the market. So if it is significant, then what it means is that BoG is picking up the signals and BoG is promising the market that, yes, they are prepared to provide enough to meet the needs of the market. The only problem is that if it is a significant demand on dollars and BoG keep meeting it, considering the fact that BoG is also using gold to back up or to store up its reserves, when BoG liquidates the gold into dollars, then it means that if BoG significantly pumps the dollar onto the market through the intermediation, BoG will also need a lot of this gold to be sold.
Finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amwa. Now, Tullow Oil has announced that they expect a final ruling on 2 separate tax disputes with Ghana by September this year. The revelation was captured in the company's 2025 financial account released to investors. There is more in this report.
Tullow Oil in 2021 requested for an arbitration with an international tribunal over several tax charges by the Ghana Revenue Authority on its operations in Ghana. This was based on work done by the Ghana Revenue Authority as part of their tax audit of Tullow's operations from 2014 to 2026. But an initial ruling by the International Tribunal sought to freeze the case from going ahead based on terms of the Ghana Revenue Authority to let Tullow pay more than 400 million cedis in tax charge. However, Tullow Oil has maintained that the new timeline should offer them an opportunity for some fresh negotiations with government on Ghana on these issues. Tullow Oil again added that it remained committed to resolving the assessment on a mutually acceptable basis to all the parties.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, insurance firms have been urged to adopt sustainability reporting as enshrined in the International Financial Reporting Standards, according to a partner of assurance services at Deloitte Ghana, Dr. Kwabena Situ. Failure to do so can affect the underwriting business among most of these insurance companies in the country. He disclosed this at a workshop organized by the National Insurance Commission for insurance players in the country.
Any management discussion topic without, you should never finish any management discussion topic without picking on sustainability risk of that particular topic you have. Any topic you bring, any topic, there will always be a sustainability leg that you are ignoring. Now, it will get to a time that in fact it's even, in fact you should even start doing it. Why don't you have a bucket line for each department?
And that is Dr. Kwabena Situ. He is the senior partner of assurance services at accounting and financial services firm that is Deloitte. Let's turn our attention to the stock market and still making some good returns if you are an investor on the Ghana Stock Exchange. In terms of year-to-date return, it has made more than 80% if you're looking at the general market. And for financial stocks, you're looking at more than 70% in terms of returns on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And Kenneth, you might be looking at that area as there are more listings. Casapreco just this week also announced that they are doing an initial public offering to raise some $700 million to expand their business. So it might be a good time to turn to the Ghana Stock Exchange, our billionaire, to do some investments in that area.
Thank you, George, for bringing us the latest in business. Francis from Accra says there are acts of sabotage against the NDC and JM in the health sector, particularly at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, involving the doctors and medical laboratory scientists. Elements within the CODA leadership aligned with the MPP are pulling strings that could escalate nationwide. He says that is it the same Attorney General Godfrey Dame who served under MPP still speaking this way, considering what we have heard on the tape in the Jakpa ambulance case? And this one is Musa Abattoir. in Aswasi. He says the strike by doctors at Kolebu Teaching Hospital appears unnecessarily escalated and possibly politically motivated. The issues at hand require continued dialogue, not industrial action, to avoid disrupting essential healthcare services. Henry says a country that is in an MPP progressive mode. Indeed, MPP supporters, don't you realize that nobody is listening to you? Sending letters to the IMF is not new. Your forefathers sent numerous letters to the Queen about developments Nkrumah was undertaking. Kofi from Amrahia says, when did the MPP develop moral right to debate the economy? Charles from Legon says, Mr. Godfred Dame acted as though he were a deputy to God himself. He abused court processes as if there were no constitution. He must allow the law to take its course. Those are some of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. We'll be reading the rest to you in due course. Now, let's do sports.
In sports, Ghana international Daniel Kofi says he dreams of playing at the 2026 FIFA World Cup despite only returning from a long-term injury. The 30-year-old was part of the Black Star squad that played at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, with Ghana exiting in the group stage. However, the midfielder was out for close to 3 years with an anterior cruciate ligament injury and only made a return last month playing in Freiburg's under-23 team. Despite his limited minutes, Tre is still holding on to the dream of being in Mexico, Canada, and USA.
I believe I can do it and get in shape, ready for the World Cup, and that's just a dream. But in the end of the day, it's not me who decides, and I can just do what I can do, and I can what's the word? I'm missing the word. In German ist, ich kann nur das beeinflussen, was ich beeinflussen kann. Yeah. So so it's not me who decided at the end of the day, but I will just give my best to be there.
Hopefully, we see how that goes. So before I leave, there's Champions League in about 10 minutes with Arsenal hosting Atletico Madrid at the Emirates Stadium. They played out a 1-1 draw at the Metropolitano in Spain. So how do you think that match is going to go?
You know, last week, I don't know if you remember, but when you asked me about it, I told you it was going to be boring.
But wasn't that boring?
Boy, was it. That 1-1, it was very boring.
Yeah, just because of what you saw with Bayern and PSG. So
So I anticipate nothing short of boring, but I'm tipping Atletico to progress because, you know, they have Champions League pedigree than Arsenal, don't they?
In recent times, yes. I would say
in forever, they do.
Yes. So there'll be live commentary on Hits FM 103.9 with the Joy Sports Desk. So let's stay in touch.
Thank you very much. It's day 2 of the Basic Education Certificate Examination BEC, but in Nkwanta, in the OT region, it is not just exams students are worried about. They are also worried about bullets. Fresh violence in Nkwanta is raising safety concerns for candidates. On Saturday, 25-year-old food vendor Richmond Benye Ayite was killed in renewed attacks, sending fear through the community. Although WAEC says no incidents have been recorded at examination centers and adequate security is in place, students in Nkwanta say anxiety is affecting their preparation. Some candidates complained the prolonged violence has left them with limited time to revise.
As for the conflict, let me see, in one way or the other, it has affected us. But we've got by our side, we have worked in accordance with the Ghana youth and then our teachers, or those in authority. We are well trained. Yes, I can say we are well trained. They have done their best to educate us on some 2 or 3 before we enter the example, to take our example. The conflict has affected us so much, but with our teachers together with us, we were able to write something in the exam hall.
It has affected me though, but I have to try my best because this is the final examination. If you don't try hard, the following thing is for you to fail. So we should just say that see there is no conflict so that I will just focus, right? But the thing is that our studies are reduced because almost intervals because the kind of breaks that we went through this year, almost half a term has passed on due to this conflict. So unless you learn on your own, that's when you are going to pass. But relying on the teachers will never help.
Let's head to the Western region now, where similar concerns over the smooth conduct of the examination emerged after a protest by youth of Shama Nyankrum on a major route to examination centers left students commuting to ride the BEC stranded. Our resident correspondent Inathalia Kwanzaa is joining me on telephone lines right now with more. Inathalia, has the situation changed?
Yes, so that was yesterday in the morning, but today when I entered the situation, it was peaceful, it was calm. The BC students did not have any issue at all. But we've been speaking to the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, who sees this as a rather unfortunate incident. Let's take a listen to what he said.
Well, I'm very much aware because yesterday I got briefed by the DCE. But even prior to that, I think it was last week when I convened a meeting between the DCE and some leaders of Nyankrum community about some challenges they have on the road, and then a particular one about a school wall that the community expects to be built by one of the tiles companies operating around the area. So we had a very successful meeting. I was most surprised to learn that some residents of the same community, have resorted to demonstration.
In other stories this evening, the Big Push agenda is facing growing pressure as Roads Minister Kwame Agboja tours project sites and finds delays, slow work, and in some cases, no contractors on the ground. The minister, touring projects across Bunu East, Savannah, Upper West, and Upper East regions, expressed frustration at the slow pace of work despite part payments made. On Monday, he visited the Techiman in Komesia Sola Road, where one contractor, Volta Impex, failed to impress the minister, even after being paid 66 million Ghana cedis. Let's listen to him.
The December last year.
So by their program, the program is said that
don't be talking about the contractors program. Okay. Contractors work to the schedule of the government.
The clearing that we all doesn't look like clearing that was done, in say January or February. It looks like clearing that was done only about 3 or 4 days ago. And so
there are people in the community. When was this clearing done? So that we don't spend.
Yes.
When did you see this road being cleared? When did you do this clearing?
We started on
April. This cannot be clearing that I'm talking about here. When did you clear this?
This place was done. We are doing
this place was cleared in April.
Yes, we did in April, but
this cannot be April. This cannot be. Nobody's blind. This cannot be April clearing.
No, sir. We did in April. Yes, today we are doing a proper clearing. That was what we are doing now.
I am asking you, when was this cleared? You said in April. Now you are saying that you did one and you are doing another one today.
Just an indication that no work has been happening at all. And yet, these contractors, many of them have received mobilization. In fact, the information we have is that on this particular project alone, about 66 million Ghana cedis have been paid to the contractors. As mobilization. Yes. This is totally unacceptable.
So when Volta Impex takes 66 million Ghana cedi mobilization, and all we get is we did some clearing in April, and we have just that a top-up clearing. Totally unacceptable. Let's review the program. Okay. And the beneficial owners of the company must appear with yourself on Thursday, 8 o'clock at the ministry. Of course, they are supposed, their case is even worse because of the quantum of money they have taken. So we are saying that on Thursday, 8 o'clock, they should appear at the military with the regional director of highway. We'll make a determination about that. If it appears the contractor does not have the capacity to do the work, we terminate. We can go to court and settle the matter. Let's build a road for our people.
And while smaller firms push ahead, the big-name contractors are falling short. Maripoma Limited came under fire over slow progress on the Wenchi solar stretch. Listen.
20% or we terminate. You are not the first person we are telling. We went to Bono, how do you call it? Western North. You didn't even turn up on the site. You did not even turn up on the site when you took mobilization on that one as well. The equipment, in fact, you didn't even have a site cam. When we were going, the truck, you were trying to do something like this. The truck carrying your, how do you call it, grader, even got spoiled on the way. They didn't even get to the site.
And this evening, smoke from fish processing in Choco is raising serious health concerns for women who work in it daily. Experts warn the firewood used releases harmful chemicals linked to cancer. The fishmongers say they are ready to switch, but viable alternatives remain out of reach. Emmanuel Jivenu has more in today's climate evidence.
27-year-old Doris Mensah spreads fresh herrings on the wire mesh as she helps her grandmother.
The smoke gets into our eyes and causes irritation. Sometimes it keeps us awake at night.
Doris's grandmother, Manti, turns the fire, feeding wood into the oven as smoke rises around her.
When we visit the hospital, doctors tell us it's from the smoke. But this is how we make a living, so we can't stop.
Whilst you are smoking that fish, you are taking in 2 packs of cigarettes every day. And clean cooking can lead to lung cancers as well.
Gas does not dry the fish properly. It only dries it halfway, while the firewood does it well.
The reliance on firewood is contributing to deforestation and worsening air pollution. For Doris, the challenge is not ignorance, it is a lack of viable alternative.
The fish turns gold when we use firewood, but gas makes it black and gives it a bitter taste.
Attempts to introduce cleaner cooking solutions have largely failed, not because the women refuse change, but because the alternatives do not work for their needs.
We cannot ask them to stop smoking the fish if we don't provide alternative.
It's said that when the last tree dies, the last man also dies. We are appealing for improved gas stoves that meet our needs and help us reduce cutting of trees. We will really be happy.
This story is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with CDKN Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R4I Opportunities Fund.
Well, that's it for News9 this evening. But before we go, a few of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. Matilda Amma from Keta says gradually things will get better as we hope. The ruling government is making efforts to improve the lives of Guineans. However, we are still appealing to the Ministry of Energy regarding the ongoing power outages. Kwesi in Kaswa says, how do the doctors know that the lab results were inaccurate or unreliable? Do they have testing equipment in their consulting rooms that they use to verify the accuracy and reliability of these results? And this one also says that why are the Ghana Education Service and other stakeholders in education allowing BEC candidates to be camped overnight by some private basic schools? This practice is becoming widespread. Some of these schools, together with parents, are allegedly collaborating with examination invigilators and supervisors to leak questions and provide answers to the candidates in the exam hall. Those are your messages. Thank you very much. And right after here is Geek Squad. Adobia is already in the studio. Adobia, what are we talking about tonight?
compares with traditional power. And I mean how the technology really works, because I'm sure already some Ghanaians are considering it.
Indeed, I think it's very, very helpful because last night I slept in darkness.
Sorry.
The nights before too, I slept in darkness. So maybe I might consider solar. So I'll be listening to your program this evening.
Stay tuned by all means.
Thank you.